Hello students, coming today to you to talk about obesity and the standard American diet. Warning, this is not pretty information I'm about to share with you. We have pretty widespread problems in the United States with our diet and the consequences of it related to obesity. All right, so grab a pencil, hit pause, and I want you to take a moment to guess the percentage of adult Americans who are in these four categories: underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese. We're skipping the morbid obesity for now. That's a BMI greater than 40. Give a guess of the number of Americans in each of these four categories, and remember that your four numbers need to add up to 100 because it's percentage. All right? Pause. Guess, come back. Okay, underweight. Only 2% of Americans are considered underweight in terms of BMI. By the way, BMI, body mass index, is the best way we have to gauge general sizes of Americans. It has to do with how tall you are and how much you weigh, along with your age group. BMI does not work for teenagers because teenagers are in such different areas of growth. So BMI, body mass index, measures only work for adults who are finished growing. All right, underweight, only 2%. Normal weight, about 26% of Americans are normal weight, and that is a range, of course, of normal. Overweight, 32% of Americans. Look, students, more Americans are overweight than normal weight and underweight combined. And 40% of Americans are now considered obese. 40%. 40 out of every 100 Americans. 4 out of every 10 Americans are now considered to be obese. It's kind of shocking where we are as a nation. Okay, so what conclusions can we reach from this data? And what other questions do you have as a result of knowing this information? Conclusions that we can reach is that we have a big problem in our country. I said that already. More than 62%, or about 62% of people are either overweight or obese. And when I say people, I mean adults. It's a minority of people anymore in the United States who are of normal weight. This has tons of implications in terms of everyday life, in terms of healthcare, in terms of budget, in terms of earnings, in terms of our health, our longevity, our ability as a nation to defend ourselves. There are so many problems related to this obesity epidemic. If you have other questions, I want you to write them down. Send them to your teacher in the Teams chat. Write them down, bring them to class. What do you want to know as a result of learning this information? All right. Adult obesity rates in 1990, I can't move the screen, but adult obesity rates by state in 1990. Look at this colorful map of the United States. One state might stick out to you, that is Mississippi. In 1990, Mississippi was the fattest state in the United States. All right? And I'll tell you that's why it's this light green color. This map doesn't really mean anything until you see the map key. And in 1990, Mississippi was the fattest state with no more than 19.9% of their population being obese. Again, 1990. If you look at the dark blue states, Colorado is one of those, less than 10% of our population in 1990 was obese, along with several other states. And most of the states, clearly, in the United States in 1990 were somewhere between 10 and almost 15% obesity. All right? 1990. So always, students, in class when we talk about obesity rates, somebody raises their hand and says, but isn't Colorado the fittest state? Isn't Colorado the thinnest state? Well, yes, we are, but look at the data. So, in 2018, Mississippi was still one of the fattest states. Here's the trend. From 1990 up to 2018, there's this trajectory. Everybody's getting heavier in Mississippi. We started way lower in 2018, but look at our trajectory. It's the same. It goes up and up with this one exception. Up and up until we see that in 2018, we've approached, well, quite a bit of obesity. In fact, in 2018, I can't see it because the bar is over it, 39.5% of people in Mississippi were obese, and 23% of people in Colorado were obese. Adults, again, we're talking about adults. So students, if we go back, if you keep 23% in your mind, and we go back to this slide of 1990, look, Mississippi was the fattest state in 1990, but they did not exceed 20% of their population. In 2018, Colorado had an obesity rate of 23% of adults. So what that means is that we are just, in Colorado, behind. We're behind the times in our obesity rate. We're about 18 to 20 years behind, but we are catching up as a state, and we show no signs of giving up. Students, when I moved here 21 years ago almost, it was visible, the difference between obese people in Ohio and obese people in Colorado. I remember being in Old Town with my husband relatively soon after we moved here and looking around and saying, honey, look, there aren't fat people here. And because we came from a place where we were used to seeing obesity around us. Approximately 20 out of every 100 people were. It wasn't that visible in Colorado 21 years ago. It is now if you look around you in public, because we're catching up. So if you are interested in finding out more, the latest state obesity data is available from this website. It's the stateofchildhoodobesity.org. I'm not going to walk you through this website, but if you click here on states, if you come from a different state or if you visited a different state, you might be interested in going to this website, clicking on states and nosing around a little bit. All right, moving right along. Ooh, stop. What is the standard American diet? Well, it's what has taken us into this obesity epidemic. 63% of our calories come from refined and processed foods. Processed foods are the kind of foods that are made in factories and come in boxes, like soft drinks, packaged snacks like potato chips, packaged desserts, hot pockets, frozen pizzas, that kind of thing. 25% of our calories come from animal-based food. A quarter of our calories come from foods that originate in animals. And 12% of our calories come from plant-based foods. All right? The sad part about that is that half of our plant-based calories come from French fries. Half of our plant-based calories come from French fries, which means that only 6% of our calories come from health-promoting foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. It's sad. I'm laughing, but I'm laughing to stop from crying. So, how bad are we at making food choices? Your next assignment is to watch this video, A Nation's Diet in Crisis, because we're pretty bad. And in this video, Dr. Michael Greger of nutritionfacts.org and the author of How Not to Die, one of my all-time favorite books, explains how we measure up to the previous set of national guidelines as analyzed in 2011. It's actually 2 sets ago because the newest dietary guidelines just came out in January for Americans. So, maybe take a break, take a deep breath, get ready to watch A Nation's Diet in Crisis to find out how badly we do as a nation. All right, chin up. You're in charge of your own destiny, and you're in charge of every bite of food that goes into your mouth, students. There's hope, and it starts with you and your fork. All right, see you later.